All right, hold on, y'all, because it's giving me a funky error message.
All right.
Hold on.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Sigma Virtual Hour. Tonight we have a special guest with us, and tonight's subject is going to be off to school, the college years. Now, last month when we did our last Sigma Virtual Hour for our educational committee, we talked about how to fill out the FAFSA. Well, this evening, our special guest is going to talk to us about what do we do after we complete the FAFSA? What are the next steps? What should we expect? And how do we just be prepared to be successful when we go off to college? Now, we thought about this long and hard, and we've recognized that there are different type of college tracks. So tonight's guest comes from Tidewater Community College. And at this time, I would just ask for you to grab your friends, your family members, and just bring them close to you so that you can hear some of the good information that we have to share. Her name is Keita Graham, and Miss Keita Graham serves as the interim career services manager at Tidewater Community College. Some of her responsibilities include planning career and internship fairs, helping students and alumni with their job search by providing resume and mock interview assistance. Ms. Graham has taught college success skills and college survival skills. She is also a coordinator for TCC Great Expectations, a program that is dedicated to supporting current and former foster youth. Ms. Graham enjoys helping people discover their true interests and connecting them to a rewarding career path. She is a certified Virginia career coach and a global career development facilitator. Ms. Graham is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She has a bachelor's degree from Middle Tennessee State University and a master's degree in organizational leadership from Regent University. At this time, I would like for everybody to just give Ms. Graham your undivided attention while we sit back and hear some of the things that she has to share so that we can be successful when it's time for us to go off to school and enjoy our college years. Ms. Graham, it's so great to have you with us. Please share.
Thank you so much, Mr. Easley, for inviting me. It definitely is a pleasure to be able to share knowledge and pour into others, because we always need some people or a person or something to keep the legacy going. So I want to always make sure that I give back. So I can't see myself, but can you all see my letters? Let's see. All right. So I would like to begin by saying this PowerPoint presentation is not necessarily anything fancy or full of a bunch of data. It really comes from the heart. A lot of times people think that the job search is something that is a cookie cutter process. No. So I would like to share with you on a very informal basis of what I think may be able to help you from where you are now. All right, so we'll begin with an overview, and after the overview, I'll give you some information how you can begin to use your communication skills, your persistence skills, as well as your relationship building skills, and identifying what some of the soft skills are and find out what they are, first of all, and how you can connect those to your personal and career development. And finally, I would like to encourage everyone to think long term. I know a lot of times, even in our personal lives, professional lives, academic lives, we want things we're just focused on the moment. But now, since you guys are about to embark on a really important life journey, we'll talk about some of the things that your parents have probably already told you, but how you can begin to think long term. All right, so basically, as you probably already know, attending college is an important phase in your academic and personal life. All right, so college, of course, automatically we think academics, a way that you can earn credentials, learn new knowledge, and just different things to help you progress in life. However, it should be a nice combination of academic and personal life change, because that's what's going to happen. All the websites, all the college catalogs, commercials, paraphernalia, all that stuff looks really good. Like, wow, I'm going to XYZ school. They offer this program, they offer that. I can get a job in this. But guess what? Real life is going to happen when you set foot on that college campus, whether it is virtually or in person. All right, so there's numerous benefits of going to college, and I think most of you already know that it prepares you, or should be able to prepare you or position you for the next phase of your life. Okay, we know money takes or life takes money, and earning an honest living, as the old folks would say, requires some dedication and commitment. So we'll talk about how the benefits of going to college are connected to self-discovery, job satisfaction, networking, special training and knowledge, career advancement, and learning hard and soft skills and personal development. So we'll begin with the first point, which is communicate. All right, being able to communicate is important. Effective communication. Okay, we know communication is two-way. You talk to someone, or they listen to you, or go through sign language, whether it's using your hands, or even texting or emailing. It's so important to communicate. Communication is so important to life in general. Now, what does it mean? How does it connect to after school, the college years? You've probably already applied to college. And guess what? Most colleges communicate their decision on whether or not to admit you through email. I've seen the videos, and you've probably seen videos on TikTok and YouTube, where everybody's gathering around the TV or the computer thinking, okay, what are they going to say? Okay, they're communicating. Yay, I got in. Or if the other happens, like, oh, I got to do something else. But you want to make sure that you are communicating in a timely manner. All right. We all have our texts, our phones, where, of course, you can get instant text messages or maybe email. But guess what? Make sure you respond to others. I know a lot of you probably have heard, wow, they had me on read for 2 days, or they had me on read for 20 minutes. We want that response now. So think about it. If someone from your college's admissions office or even financial aid office reached out to you, guess what? They probably are expecting a response. If they're not expecting a response, then you should be able to gauge that by reading the communication. But since you guys have already done the FAFSA, you've probably already applied to college, make sure that you identify time-sensitive information. For example, sometimes the FAFSA may bounce back and say, hey, we need you to verify your parents' income. We need you to submit a documentation. We need you to do this or that. Make sure you read your emails, and in some cases, text messages, because I know a lot of institutions will send, which is good, communication through text message. All right, scholarships, so important. Right now, we're essentially in March, so you probably already have come across scholarships that you're interested in applying for. But guess what? Either the deadlines are fast approaching or they may have already passed. So you'll want to make sure that you are definitely being able to know what your deadlines are. Okay. All right. Create a professional email account with your name. I can't tell you how many times we come across in the professional world, particularly at Tidewater Community College, where students will email from a personal account that does not have anything to do with their first or last name. So one, you're thinking, who is this person? But on the other hand, make sure it is a professional name. I know nicknames are cute. You may have had the same email since maybe middle school, but hey, it's time to get one that has your name and that does not indicate or give any kind of implication of your age. For example, if you were born in 2005, you don't want to put that along with your name and the 2005. Guess what? We've got some people out here that like to hack and steal people's identity. You'd be surprised if people or the number of people that use general information to track you down or your parents just by finding out when your birthday is. So they already have your name, they can find your birthday out. So just think of something that's a unique combination of numbers that's not already being used, okay? Already in terms or in addition to talking about your professional account, create a brand that's connected to you. My name is Keita Graham. Obviously at work, my email is Keita L. Graham. There's another K Graham. But in my personal email, I either use my first initial and last name or first and last name in a combination of letters. So just keep that in mind. Also, when you're communicating, now that you've gotten into college or you've done your FAFSA and all that, ask for clarity anytime that you are unsure about something. For example, if FAFSA bounces back, or maybe the school that you're going to go to, the financial aid staff maybe reaches out to you and say, hey, we're going to need your parents' income from 2017, 2018, and we also need a proof of maybe your address or your birth. And you're thinking, oh my parents always handled this. Ask for clarity, because it's better to ask for clarity now than later, because if you end up responding to something and it's the incorrect information, guess what? That's probably going to cause a delay in you getting the information that you need, okay? So FAFSA, I know you've already known that there's been a new rollout of information for FAFSA this year. So there's a lot of probably people pulling a lot of resources very quickly to get this thing completed before you go to school. So just remember, good communication, checking the emails in a timely manner, creating your professional email accounts. Hopefully you all do that if you don't already have it. And you will ask for clarity, because these are so important, okay? All right. The next one, or the next point that I would like to communicate is persist, all right? Persistent is just keep working at something, keep trying and trying and trying. Hopefully you all have been accustomed to persisting every time and since every grade. I understand a lot of you are already in high school. Some of you are hopefully very close to graduation, but just persist. That means to keep at it, okay? If you don't succeed at first, try again, all right? Continue fulfilling your high school requirements. Okay, I know most of you are probably just over it. You're like, okay, can we get rid of this stage already? It's time to start focusing on ring dance. Well, most of you probably already had ring dance. Time to start focusing on prom. It's time to start focusing on a lot of fun activities that's associated with high school. But guess what? It's not over. You're almost there. So work hard to ensure that you successfully complete the college requirements. Sometimes colleges, or very frequently colleges, will admit you on a tentative basis, which means you are anticipated or projected to meet our requirements should you keep on the track that you're already on. Or they may say you need to go ahead and maybe go to another school or just do something while you meet the requirements for the school that you want to go to. But at any rate, still stick with it. You're still in school. So that means, yeah, you got to start juggling, becoming master of juggling. I know I can't juggle, but it looks fun when folks are doing it. But believe me, when professional jugglers do their thing, they probably had to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. But basically, you guys are already juggling. You're juggling school, you're juggling maybe outside activities or extracurricular activities. Plus, some of you have work. All right. So that's a lot of things already being required of you to pay attention to. So learn how to work on different projects and responsibilities at the same time. So imagine a snowball. Okay. You have a nice little snowball that may fit in the palm of your hand. But now that you're going to keep adding things on, then guess what? That snowball is going to get bigger and bigger. All right. So learn to work on different projects at the same time. All right. Now, also associated with multitasking is you're developing skills. All right. Going back to what I said earlier about, hey, you know, the website looks good at the school. I get to look at my dorm. I get to look at this beautiful campus and everything. But guess what? There's going to come a time where you're going to have to be in school. You're going to get past this phase. But guess what? Also, you are building some very useful skills for time management, because when you get to classes in college, you're going to have to take on another responsibility of a job. Going to school should be considered as a job. So even if you're working now, you're probably going to have a job in addition to the job, plus school. All right. Make sure that you are prepared to go in with an open mind, and these skills will help you in college and in the workplace. Learn to create options. I know persistence, we think about, okay, we're going to work toward one thing only. No, let's learn how to create some options. Options are good. I know you may have your dream school or just only one thing that you want to do after you go to college. All right. Unfortunately, things don't always go our way. So there's nothing wrong with you having a backup plan if your original plan doesn't go as planned. All right, take this for example. If you want to get into JMU, you're like, that's a school I want to get into, or I'm thinking about going to this school for another option, or the cost. What can I do? I only want to go to this one school. Guess what? For whatever reason, the first choice may not work out. So you'll have your backup plan. Hopefully, that doesn't mean you are going to only focus on that and just kind of be like, oh, I'm not going to get in my school. You want to make sure that that backup plan is still as fulfilling. But I know a lot of students would of course want to go to, if they want to go start at a four-year school, for whatever reason, you may not be able to get in that school, whether it's financially, academically, or whatever. Think of an alternate plan. You may have an out-of-state school. Okay, as a parent, I'm always focusing pretty much telling my daughter, think of in-state schools first. Everybody wants to get away, but think about in-state tuition as opposed to maybe going to another four-year school. And I am a huge advocate of community college, not only because I work at TCC, yes, for sure, but I attended a community college just out of high school. I wasn't prepared academically or even financially, but it was a great place for me to start. Even though that wasn't my first choice, it was an option. All right. In addition to communication and persistence, let's discuss building relationships. All right. Relationships come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. So we'll pause just for a moment, and then we will, I think we may have an opportunity for a question, or just to pause for a moment.
Yes, we do have some questions that are coming from our audience. One of the questions is this: at what point should someone use their personal email or their high school email in terms of communicating with a prospective college?
That is a very great question. I'm glad you brought that up because I'll use TCC as an example. TCC require, or actually every student who is admitted to TCC, they are assigned a student ID number, but they're also assigned a TCC or Virginia Community College Systems email, which is connected to Gmail. I know that's a lot to hear. However, you at TCC currently cannot use your TCC or VCCS email until you register for classes. So make sure as you are applying to your colleges that you include a professional email that includes your name, all right? But once you get the go ahead from your institutions that your institution issued email is activated, use that. But in the meantime, use your professional email. And again, I am classifying in this case or setting a professional email as one that has your first and last name. All right. So as soon as you get the green light to use your school ID one or issue one, fine. Until then, your personal one. And as we know, Google is pretty much standard. So try that one first, or Gmail.
Outstanding. So what do we do what information could you give us for those who are going to be the first generation in their family to go off to college and they get that acceptance letter? Is there next steps that come with the acceptance letter, or is it the acceptance letter and then they just show up on the college? Are there things that need to be done after that?
Well, I think first of all, for one, anyone who attends, who's the very first person in their college, I'm sorry, family to attend college, my hat goes off to you because I was a first generation college student. And right now, I believe first generation college students are students whose parents have not earned a bachelor's degree. So if you fall into that category, I would advise you to contact your school, even if it's a school that you are considering or even not have already been admitted to. Ask about TRIO funding, TRIO programs. And right now, TRIO, it's actually TRIO. The name actually escapes me in terms of what the acronym stands for. But basically, there's federal programs that support students from first generational college families. For example, at TCC, we have the Open Door program. That funding provides resources to first generational college students to introduce them to the process or help them bridge from high school to college. So that may be a word too that you may want to start using when you're asking for these types of resources, bridge programs, because a lot of schools do offer them. All right, so definitely research, and you may want to also research TRIO funding, federal funding. The U.S. Department of Education handles that funding, and sometimes if you do a little bit of research, digging in that website, they'll have all the schools in the United States that have been assigned or issued federal funding to assist students with first generation. Even if you are not a first generation student and your parents have already graduated with a bachelor's or higher, and you're just still trying to gather more resources, do your research. There should be, the U.S. Department of Education is a great place to start.
Awesome. So I want to go to persistent real quick. And you brought up something about, keeping up with, what needs to be done. I got a question about gap years. Do you think a gap year is something that everyone should do? How do you handle a gap year? Does it mean that you not apply? And what's the ins and outs of a gap year? Because a lot of students ask about that. A lot of students desire that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure if COVID helped gap year become more popular, but it seems like right during the pandemic, students who were either already a senior when the pandemic happened in 2020, and that had those years that we just all want to forget about. And I will say, in my opinion, a lot of that probably just came with exhaustion because that was a huge shift for parents, teachers, educators from all levels. So I personally recommend that students don't take a gap year, only because if you are disconnected from school or any type of learning, I just based on my experience and having been at a community college and university levels in career services before, sometimes if you're out of the game, you kind of forget the plays, if that makes sense. It's okay to take a break, but if you do decide to do or take a gap year, make sure that you're being very proactive about setting goals and achieving them. For example, if you're going to take a gap year or gap semester, and some people have different reasons for wanting to do that. Sometimes they're like, I'm exhausted. There could be mental health issues or even financial issues. Let's be realistic about it. Those things do happen. Life happens. But if you're only wanting to take a gap year just because you kind of are tired of school, set some short-term and long-term goals. Like if you know you want to go to TCC, but you want to take that gap semester or year, find out what those requirements are going to be for you to get into TCC. Even though we're open access, we still have academic standards. See if you need to take a placement test by the time that you get ready to go. If you've already taken it, will those test scores still be valid? Will my FAFSA still be valid? You have to do the FAFSA for every academic year. So those are just some of the things that I would focus on, maybe setting some short-term goals, steps for achieving those goals, but also just do some self-reflection of why is it that you want to take a gap year? Ask yourself, why is it? Is it because I don't like school? Is it because I'm tired? Or I don't know why? Reach out to some of us folks who are already in higher ed, do some research, visit schools, but it's up to you. It's your decision. I know parents can be very influential when it comes to encouraging their students or kids to go to school. So there's a different, it could be a different aspect on your end.
All right. Thank you so much. So
You're welcome.
share with us what I'm interested to see what the third point is.
All right. Building relationships. We want to make sure everybody has some type of relationships, whether it's a family relationship, work relationship, peer relationship, or even a romantic relationships. Relationships are a part of life. All right, but guess what? Relationships are so important for your academic journey. All right. Remember how we talked about in the beginning where how communication is so important, making sure that you follow up. And really that could make or break the follow-up piece. If you don't follow up, guess what? If someone's emailing you, hey, I need you to fill this out. We got a scholarship that you might be interested in. Guess what? If you don't follow up, that's probably going to ruin that opportunity for you to even be considered for a scholarship, but it may also upset the person who is sending you that. So don't burn bridges. Even if you respectfully decline something, you may have in your mind, I don't want to go to that school, or I'm not interested in that scholarship, or I don't want to do that particular part of, at the institution I'm thinking about going to. Respectfully decline. Believe me, people remember if you kind of ghost them, all right? But building relationships is so important. I know with speaking of COVID, especially with you guys were probably middle school, going to high school, or already in high school when the pandemic happened, which means everything changed. A whole culture of communication changed. So we got so accustomed to doing things by Zoom, which is very convenient, but being able to communicate in person has its own, I guess, distinction. All right. That's why I put face it. Let's get into the faces of people. Attend networking events. So if there's something that your school is having for, even if it's something that you might not be interested in, maybe it's the DECA Club or another organization at your school, or even in your community, guess what? You never know who knows who. So attend those networking events, request an opportunity to shadow a professional in your industry. For example, some of the programs at TCC, for example, our Vet Tech, veterinarian technician program, a lot of our health pathway programs, or even some of our skilled trade programs, they require that you do volunteer work, or maybe, get an idea of what an industry is like before you embark upon that long journey. Go reach out to folks. That's why the communication skills are so important. So we want to make sure that you're building in-person relationships virtual, which is what we're doing. You're getting the chance to see and hear from me virtually. That's good. However, virtual should be one of the many ways that you build relationships. I'm not sure how many of you are connected to LinkedIn, and I'll say, okay, LinkedIn is similar to Facebook. I know you probably are like, Facebook's for old people, but just to kind of give you an idea or help you visualize what getting connected virtually means. I know a lot of you all use, let's see, Instagram, but TikTok, by hands down, I mean, that's like one of the most popular ones. And people of all ages, as you know, use that. But get LinkedIn. See what opportunities are available to you through companies. It doesn't hurt to start reaching out to people who are already in industries. You're more than welcome to pull up my LinkedIn. I'm at Keita Graham, Tidewater Community College. You can reach out to me and get connected to me. And it's like a snowball. Basically, again, it gets bigger and bigger, or as you connect to more people, your network expands. You never know. You may reach out to someone who's a physician. Say, hey, or maybe works at a physician's office. Is there an opportunity for me to come and shadow this person? Can I do that? Because I want to see if this is something that I really want to do. Another way that you can build relationships is through casual and professional methods, okay? Casual is like you're just kind of hanging out with a friend, or maybe you know someone from church, or maybe an organization such as Phi Beta Sigma or Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sorority Incorporated. It never hurts. Believe me, a lot of us are so eager to get connected to you, and hopefully you to us, because building relationships can lead to opportunities, and also get connected to your community or in your community. There's like 5K races, there's volunteer opportunities during the holidays, or just in general. Reach out to some of the United Way or nonprofit organizations to see if there's an opportunity for you to get connected. All right. Because believe me, a person is more willing to give a letter of recommendation or a reference to someone that they're familiar with versus someone who's just calling or emailing only for that. All right. There's always opportunities in the community where you can help, maybe in the summertime, hand out water at a 5K, or help at the YMCA doing something. And guess what? Again, you never know who knows who. So hopefully you are able to expand on your relationship building already, in person, virtual, casual, and professional, because as I've highlighted here, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That used to bother me for years. I'm like, that's not fair. And the older I got, I'm like, wait a minute, that really makes perfect sense. You should be intentional about establishing relationships that are meaningful, and that's going to add to your progress and not take away from it.
Question. What is the benefit of having a mentor?
The benefit of having a mentor is you get one-on-one guidance. Sometimes there may be a group, or maybe one or more mentees in a group, but guess what? you probably are going to be under the leadership, under the care, under the guidance of someone who's willing to help shape you, help mold you into getting into a good school, landing a great job, but also a lifelong, a lot of the mentor and mentee relationships end up evolving into lifelong relationships. The purpose or the benefit of having a mentor is that you get connected. That's a relationship. Your mentor may say, hey, I went to school with someone who majored in this, or I know someone from my bank who works in this industry, or hey, I know about an organization that's handing out money for books to students who graduated with a certain GPA. That's where mentors, mature people who have already gone to where you're trying to go, can help you.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So let me ask another question about relationships. Do you think it's beneficial for study groups to be best friends? Or should the study group consist of folks that may be within that field? I know for a lot of first year college students, that's something that has to be navigated through time. So could you kind of give us some advice from a career, from a student success perspective on study groups, tutorial services?
All right, for sure. Study groups are good. One thing that I definitely encourage students to do when they're identifying study partners or buddies or folks who can help, get someone who knows more than you. Someone who may, if you're looking for maybe two or three people, be strategic about it. Get someone who is not your friend, because for one, that's kind of being biased. It's like, okay, you guys are probably do more talking or maybe having more fun, and we'll just call it what it is. I mean, that's just like nature of communication. Is like if you're gonna hang out with someone that you're friends with, either you should know where to draw the line where business is business, friendship is friendship, and we are here to study. But I recommend you identify people who are either, as I mentioned, knowledgeable in your area, whether it's someone who even may not be a student. I mean, that kind of gets away from studying, but have a combination of people who are on your same level, people who may be a little more advanced in the area, or even the person that you initially didn't even think about or talking to in your class. I know we tend to gravitate toward people who have common interests than us, but that's where we can get into the conversation of diversity. You want a diverse group of members in your study group who can help you, not necessarily hurt you. And sometimes we don't realize that things or people may hurt us until it's too late. Always utilize tutoring services. I know in high school, the term stay back and meet with the teacher, stay back and meet in study hall. I know all of you are probably thinking, okay, once again, I just kind of want to get out of school or maybe not stay out back or whatever. Use your strategic thinking. Choose a variety of people, places, and things when it comes to study groups. So it might not be a friend and it may not be popular to hang around a certain person, but if that person is going to be beneficial to you advancing in your classes, by all means, select that person or be approachable for them, but also reach out, say, hey, do you mind, can I meet with you to study for this test or something? And use your free resources. Tutoring can be very expensive to parents. So if you have access to someone who can tutor you for free or at a very minimal cost, by all means, do that as well.
Well, it sounds to me that when it comes to building relationships, some soft skills are needed. So come on, talk
Yes.
to us a little bit about some of these soft skills.
Well, soft skills are people skills, basically. All right. That's a buzzword that's out there in the industry. There are professional organizations that deal specifically with employers who want to meet with students, or employers who want to communicate what some of the standards are for people skills in today's era. For instance, conflict resolution, and these are transferable skills that you can see at the bottom that benefit your personal and professional growth. So as I'm reading rather, and as you're listening to what these skills are, think of how what you've already done, either at work or school or in the community, of how you've already dealt with some of these or developed some of these soft skills. Conflict resolution. All right. Employers, being they, are looking for employees who can deal with conflict resolution, things that come with life, come with dealing with people. Teamwork. All right. If you are already connected to any type of organization or club at your high school or in the community, great. Even if you work at Chick-fil-A or Cookout or at the YMCA or wherever, you're probably part of a team. If it's you and one other person, you're probably part of a team. And you know what can come as a result of being on a good team? Progress. But if you're on a bad team, you're probably having to deal with conflict resolution or issues, whether it's customer service. If you're working at Target or Walmart, you're probably in customer service. Guess what? You're already dealing with conflict resolution and teamwork. Someone's food may not be or may not meet their expectations. You are probably dealing with conflict resolution, but most importantly, communication. I have that in the middle because communication is one of those universal skills that either we are communicating in person or virtually. At any rate, we are communicating. All right. So having the ability to effectively communicate. Remember how I mentioned being able to follow up to emails, to acknowledge someone's message, or even a voicemail. People still leave voicemails, but make sure that you communicate. Don't leave them on read, even if they don't even have that function on their phone. Acknowledge, even if it's saying, I'll follow up with you. Problem solving. I think we've all come across problems in all areas of our lives. Being able to acknowledge or assess a situation and use your critical thinking skills to solve the problem, that's amazing. That's an amazing soft skill. Adaptability, that's something that comes with, or effective adaptability comes from life experience. So the older you get, I think you'll probably appreciate the ability to adapt to situations. For example, if you may have heard of the term code switch, that means you act one way with your family, maybe another way with your friends, and then definitely another way with your employer, or maybe your teacher. All right. Being able to switch or adapt to situations, especially when it comes to professionalism and academics, adaptability is so important. You don't want to be in your biology class in high school or even in college, and then you're kidding around like you're in a weightlifting class. Being able to adapt to situations is important. Leadership. You don't have to be an in front of the stage person to be a leader. Leadership can be from behind the scenes. A lot of times, people who do the most, they are the most effective leaders. Don't always do something because you get to say, okay, well, Tom, he did this, or Mary, she did that. I'm trying to use generic names. So if that's someone's name, I'm not trying to pick on you, but these are at random. You don't want to be known as a person that always does something just for the limelight. Do things that really matter when people are not looking. All right. Sometimes that's where the most effective results come from with leadership. So being able to resolve conflict, be an effective team member, communicate effectively, both verbally and written. That means good writing skills. Writing, I know we get so used to writing LOL in our text messages and all the other acronyms. Get in the point of writing effective communication, professional communication, adaptability, leadership. All of these are good soft skills that employers are looking for, in addition to you having the work experience as well as the academic experience. The job search is a job. So we're going back, remember we talked about being able to multitask. These juggling, these are our little oranges or balls that we're going to be juggling. Hard skills, just in case you're wondering, those are skills that are directly connected to your job. For example, if you're wanting to get into welding, that is a hard skill, something that is directly connected to your occupation. But guess what? A soft skill for welding means teamwork. You're probably, I know a lot of students sometimes are like, I want to be merchant seaman, I want to work at the shipyard. Maybe you want to work in a doctor's office or being a teacher, a social worker. You have to be part of a team. Someone is depending on you to make sure a goal is being accomplished. All right. Another one that we're going to wrap up with is think long term. Think of this. Think of the big picture. You probably heard your parents say, okay, well, save some of your money. Don't spend it all in one place because you're going to have to save this for a rainy day. Think of you preparing for college. Now you're going to be off to school. All right. Let's say this fast forward to August. Some of you may go to school sooner than August or maybe a little later. But what you're doing now should impact long term. Growth takes time. As I mentioned, I used to get so mad when I would hear that. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I would think, wow, why do I need to work or get experience? How can I get a job without experience? But starting to build relationships, reciprocate. You do something for some person, then return the favor. I mean, you never know. They say, oh, I remember when you bagged my groceries at Food Line, you were so nice. I remember that. You never know who's watching. And then that person, you may run into that person at the admissions office at your school. They say, oh yeah, come over here. I remember you. So growth takes time. Remember that. Relationship, building and I'm sorry, I don't want to jump to that one yet, but building relationships, remain positive. You don't want to be that person, oh, he's always mean when I go to that store, or when I had him in the class, he talked a lot. Turn it around. Wow, he was such a great contributor in my class. Or she always had very good insight in our DECA club meetings or in our student government meetings. Use technology in a positive manner. You probably have already heard or will hear digital footprints, all right? Basically, when something's out there online, it's out there. We probably have heard more than once when some celebrity is like, oh, they took that tweet, or in this case, that X down. They took that post down or whatever. But believe me, somebody has probably taken a screenshot of it. So use technology in a positive manner. AI, artificial intelligence, is so popular now. Make sure that, and I'm still learning about it, make sure that you use it in a positive manner where you're not like lifting someone's work and using it as your own. Be open to creativity. Creativity is not always about painting and drawing. Being creative, being able to think outside of the box is so important. Think of ways that someone else may not have done to achieve a goal. For example, I do project planning and event planning in some areas of my responsibilities at TCC. So if one way doesn't work, if we're not getting a lot of students to attend an event, guess what I'm doing? I'm thinking of ways that I could create new strategies to get more student participation. So be open to creativity, get connected to professionals in your field. It does not hurt to do what we call from the old school cold calling. That's when you would get on the phone and say, I am this person, I am seeking to learn about this field. You guys have maybe a couple of hours where I could do an informational interview, even at your stage of high school or your freshman or first 2 years of college. It's never too late. And we talked about LinkedIn. So get connected to those professionals. Also, maintain good credit. We're not talking about your credits from high school. We're talking about the credit that you need to start building to attain certain things in life, whether it's a car, Most of you probably have a dream car or a dream home on your horizon. Make sure that you're maintaining good credit. Guess what? A lot of employers use background checks for different purposes. Some of them are for criminal background checks, but it's very often and very common that employers do background credit checks. All right, so if you're going to be responsible for a massive budget responsibility in your new job, hey, if you are really good at managing your own budgets and your credit, guess what? That's a plus for you. But if that comes back a not so clean credit check, they are probably going to look for the next candidate. And when you're in school, now that you've done the FAFSA, make sure that if you're eligible for loans, look for every other avenue to pay for your school and use loans as a last opportunity. Not every student will qualify for Pell Grants or free money. So make sure you're looking at those scholarships. Go to your access counselor at school. Go to the financial aid office at your college, or call or email, because the FAFSA or institutions uses the FAFSA to identify what students are eligible for scholarships. So foundations are good. TCC has an educational foundation that has a big part in distributing money to students who are eligible through a number of reasons. So start using that verbiage. Ask schools, do they have an educational foundation or scholarships, just in case you are ineligible. Ask your employer if they participate in any kind of tuition remission, which means they'll pay for you to go to school. Sometimes you have to major in something related to your field, but more than likely, a lot of you probably work in retail and or fast food. There are a lot of companies that have resources like to assist with your financial aid or your tuition. For example, Starbucks, McDonald's. So, hey, Google Chick-fil-A, Google your company, or even ask your manager if they are aware of any types of academic resources that you can use so you don't have to take out a loan, okay? But going back to that credit, make sure you maintain good credit as a college student. And then when you get that first loan from your car or your bank and say, hey, you qualify for more money, take that out. No, it's okay. In most cases, you have to have at least one credit card. Start with a very small credit limit, $500 or so, then start paying that so you can build credit. But don't get sucked into all of these offers that pop up on your computer, or your friends are like, hey, let's go to that music festival. It's $400. You're like, oh, I could probably apply for a credit card. No, try and put a lot of money aside if you can, but hopefully thinking long term can help you develop some short and long term goals to grow, maintain positive relationships, embrace technology, think outside of the box, get connected to professionals, because you never know who you're going to come across. And again, you want to make sure that you start off with good credit. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And hopefully this has been very beneficial. I really enjoyed sharing things that I've come across over the course of my professional life. So I believe in paying it forward.
Well, thank you so much. You've done such a wonderful job. As we collect some questions that we may have from our online audience, I did want to bring something back up. There's a statement that goes around, in particularly in the K-12 setting, that C's get degrees. So the question that I have is this right here. Is it true that employers just may ask for your GPA?
Yes, it's true. And full disclosure, I was a C student in high school and I have a master's degree now. So if you're thinking, I have a 2.0 something or even less, don't get discouraged. However, Mr. Kavan is very certain about that. He has heard the same thing I heard. Sometimes they will ask for your transcript. Most of the time, if you're applying for a professional job that requires a degree, your employer, your prospective employer, is going to ask for your transcript. That's how they're not going to ask for a picture of your degree, even though it's nice and framed and pretty. They're going to ask for proof, which means they're going to ask for that transcript. Now, that's not to say because they ask for your transcript, they're going to look at your C's and D's. And I had a couple of F's on mine. I'm just being very transparent. But most of the time, it's just to confirm that you have earned your credential. If they do ask for your GPA, that means that they're probably either looking at maybe a promotion, or maybe there's some accreditation reasons for asking for your GPA. And all the jobs I've applied for, I only had one person to look at my degree and say, oh, you had to C in that class, you had this. I was really surprised, but I ended up getting the job. But I think a lot of it probably just comes from maybe just curiosity from the employer. But if it's not in the job description, that should not be held against you. But if you have those not so good grades on there, those C's, then try your best to either retake classes, not in high school because you're almost finished, but in college, if there's probable cause for you to retake classes, always ask a trusted advisor, academic advisor, because sometimes it doesn't make sense to retake classes academically or financially. So C's are okay, but let's try for those A's and B's.
That's right. Outstanding. Well, Ms. Graham, this conversation has been very enlightening. It has been very wonderful, very educational. We certainly do appreciate you for all your time and for coming over from the pink and green world, you know, to the Sigma world. Thank you so much. We appreciate that again. And we look forward to doing work with you in the future. And folks, right there on your screen, if you want to get in contact with Ms. Graham and ask her any type of questions in terms of career coaching, career development, she's left her information there. It is klgraham100 at gmail.com. Again, it is klgraham100 at gmail.com. Well, folks, this wraps up and concludes our Sigma Virtual Hour on our educational side. Please stay tuned for next month's Sigma Virtual Hour, where we will host a moment and a time with our Social Action Committee. Well, people, thank you so much again. Thank you, Ms. Graham. I appreciate everything that you have done. Good night, everyone.
Good night.